Your high school history classes did not teach you everything. And that's not their fault. They're teaching to a test because they have to. They're teaching to district requirements. They're teaching to AP requirements. And they're trying to get so much information across at you. Like, they have maybe 10 months to get you through World War I, World War II, the Cold War, Tammany Hall, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, the Civil War, Reconstruction. That's so much, even without touching the 7 Years' War and the Revolution. But that means that important stories get left behind. So I'm going to tell you one that I think you should know. When we talk about Black voting rights, most of the time we talk about the Dred Scott case, which makes sense because then we're talking about the 15th Amendment, right? But what we don't, or most high school history classes at least don't talk about, is Fannie Lou Hamer, who in 1962 traveled with 17 other civil rights activists to the courthouse in Indianola, Mississippi. They were told that they had to pass a literacy test before they could register to vote. Not great, but super common voter suppression technique. When Fannie Lou Hamer got home that night, the white plantation owner on whose land she was living with her husband threatened to kick her out of her home if she did not return to that courthouse and withdraw her voter registration. A few days later, white supremacists shot 16 bullets into the home where she was living. 1963, she went to a restaurant after attending a voting rights workshop in South Carolina. The police arrested everybody who was on their bus who had stopped at the restaurant. Ms. Hamer was beaten so brutally by the police in the jail that she was left with permanent kidney damage and a blood clot behind her eye. Fannie Lou Hamer went on to co-found the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and attended the Democratic National Convention, specifically to challenge the, by the way, all-white Democratic delegation to represent the state of Mississippi. Her speech was televised and generated enough public outcry that it set into motion the Voting Rights Act, which banned local laws like literacy tests that blocked primarily Black people, but other minorities as well, from the ballot box. That was in 1965. That is not ancient history. Voting access, sharecropping, the resistance that allowed Black people the right to vote, not ancient history. Color photography was invented 104 years actually, prior to the Voting Rights Act. If you have only ever seen black and white photos of civil rights activists and fuzzy still photography as opposed to recorded television and film, it might be time to think about why people want you to think that this is ancient history and not something that happened either in our lifetimes or in the lifetimes of our parents and grandparents. We're not that far removed from this.